Imagine this. It's Christmas Eve 2002. A young couple in Modesto, California, is buzzing with holiday cheer and the excitement of their first baby due any day. But by morning, the wife vanishes without a trace. Her husband reports her missing, pleading for help. Weeks turn to months, and then her remains surface in the bay wrapped in mystery. Was it a tragic accident, a random abduction, or something far more sinister? Stick around, because in today's deep dive on the True Crime Report Cold Cases, we'll unravel the Laci Peterson saga. The affair, the anchors, the trial that gripped the nation, and the shocking appeals that refused to let this story die. By the end, you'll understand why, even 2 decades later, questions linger about guilt, innocence, and justice served, or not. Let's start at the beginning, because to grasp this case, we need to know who Laci Peterson really was. Born Laci Denise Rocha on May 4, 1975 in Escalon, California, she grew up on her family's dairy farm, helping with chores and tending gardens alongside her mom, Sharon. Life wasn't always easy. Her parents divorced when she was just 2, but Laci thrived. She became a cheerleader, graduated from Thomas Downey High School, and headed to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo to study ornamental horticulture. Friends and family described her as the picture of warmth, a devoted homemaker who loved baking, hosting dinner parties, and binge-watching Martha Stewart. Enter Scott Peterson. Born October 24, 1972 in San Diego, Scott came from a blended family. His dad ran a crate packaging business, his mom owned a boutique. A golf prodigy in his teens, he dreamed of going pro, even teaming up with future legend Phil Mickelson. But college at Arizona State soured that path, allegedly after a recruiting mishap involving booze and a teammate's dad. Scott transferred schools, landed at Cal Poly, and switched to agricultural business, graduating in 1998 as what one professor called a model student. Their paths crossed at a Morro Bay restaurant where Scott worked as a waiter. Laci slipped him her number, telling her mom outright, "I've met the man I'm going to marry." They dated for 2 years, tied the knot in 1997 at a scenic resort, and built a life together, opening a sports bar called The Shack, then relocating to Modesto in 2001 to start a family. By late 2002, Laci was 7.5 months pregnant with their son Connor, due February 10, 2003. On the surface, the American dream. But whispers of cracks emerged. Prosecutors would later allege Scott's first affair happened around this time, though details stayed vague. And in November 2002, just weeks before the holidays, Scott met Amber Fry, a massage therapist in Fresno. What started as a blind date allegedly blossomed into a full affair. Scott reportedly told Amber he was single, and even claimed to be a widower by December 9th. Chilling, right? But was this the motive brewing, or just marital drift? Hold that thought, we'll circle back. Fast forward to December 23, 2002. The Petersons visit Laci's sister Amy at her salon. Scott gets a trim as usual. He mentions picking up a fruit basket the next day since he's golfing nearby. Laci chats with her mom around 8:30 p.m. Everything seems normal. The next morning, Christmas Eve, Scott tells police he left home around 9:30 a.m. for a fishing trip at Berkeley Marina, 90 miles away. Laci, he says, was watching Martha Stewart, planning to mop, bake, and walk their golden retriever Mackenzie to East La Loma Park. But neighbors spot something off. At 10:18 a.m., Karen Servas finds Mackenzie loose, muddy-leashed, and returns him to the yard. Another neighbor sees the dog playing fetch at 10:45. No sign of Laci. Scott calls her at 2:15 p.m. "Hey, beautiful. It's 2:15. I'm leaving Berkeley." He returns home around 5 p.m. to an empty house. Laci's car in the driveway, but no wife. He showers, washes his clothes, then calls his mother-in-law, Sharon. "Is Laci with you?" By 6 p.m., police are notified. Scott joins the frantic search, but here's where red flags wave. Witnesses later testify he told friends and family he'd been golfing that day, not fishing. And when neighbors asked if he'd seen Laci, he allegedly knocked on doors, calm as ever. Sharon Rocha would later deny his story of finding the dog loose, writing in her book that it shattered her trust. Was Scott just in shock, or scripting an alibi? The disappearance explodes into a media frenzy. Over 900 volunteers scour Modesto, posting flyers, combing parks, even using cadaver dogs. A command center hums at the Red Lion Hotel, Rewards climb to $500,000. Blue and yellow ribbons tie the town in knots. Detectives Alan Brocchini and John Bueller lead the charge, initially treating it as a missing person case. But Scott's cool demeanor unnerves them. Bueller later told ABC News, "I suspected him from the start. Not that he did it, but his calm threw me off. No frantic questions, just polite distance." As days drag, tips flood in, sightings across states, even overseas. But one call changes everything. On December 30th, Amber Fry contacts police. Scott had lied about being single and a widower. Detectives wire her phone. Recorded calls reveal Scott spinning tales post-disappearance, like claiming he was in Paris for New Year's. On January 15th, they break the news to Laci's family. Sharon Roche's reaction? "I knew then he did it." By January 24th, the Roches hold a press conference withdrawing support. Amber goes public too. The affair isn't just scandal, it's alleged motive. Prosecutors would claim Scott planned the murder 2 weeks prior, strangled Laci to escape his perfect life. The pregnancy pressures, financial strains, they owed $23,000 on cards, and freedom for Fry. But the Rocha family still defends him early on. The ideal couple, they say. Motive or coincidence? The puzzle pieces multiply. And now the gut punch that shattered hope. April 13, 2003. Dog walkers find a male fetus on Richmond's Point Isabel shore. The next day, a jogger spots a decomposed torso nearby. DNA confirms it. April 18th. Laci and Connor. Autopsies paint horror. Laci's body bloated, missing head, arms, legs, organs, ribs and neck bones cracked. Cause unclear, pre or post-mortem. No tool marks, suggesting natural dismemberment from bay currents after months submerged. Connor's tiny form? Wrapped in nylon, minor mutilations, expelled from Laci's rupturing abdomen. Dr. Brian Peterson, no relation, rules Connor died in utero. No exact time of death, but experts peg it around Christmas Eve. The bay becomes a crime scene. Scott's boat? A hair matching Laci's via mitochondrial DNA, wraps pliers inside. Cement dust trails to a warehouse anchor he made days before. Prosecutors allege 4 more for her limbs, though none surface in dives. Tides? Expert Ralph Ching suggests dumping near Scott's fishing spot. But defense counters. Laci was seen alive post 9:30 a.m., maybe abducted for her baby. Full-term fetus? Possible kidnapping holdout. The theories clash like waves. Panic grips investigators. GPS tracks Scott to San Diego, near Mexico. April 18th. Arrested at Torrey Pines Golf Course mid-game with family. Blonde dyed hair and beard. Truck packed. $15,000 cash, Viagra, survival gear for phones, 2 licenses, his and brother's. Prosecutors screen flight risk. Disguise for Tijuana. Scott's dad? Just avoiding media. But Bueller later reflects. He knew the border cold. Premeditated escape. Arraigned April 21st on 2 murder counts. First degree for Laci, premeditated. Second for Connor. Trial moves to San Mateo for fairness. Enter celeb lawyer Mark Garagos. Media circus ensues. June 2004. Opening salvos. Prosecution. Scott killed for freedom. Strangled her, anchored the body, lied about golf versus fishing. Witnesses pile on. His emotionless vigils, house sale chats. Don't want her living here if found. Porn channels added post-disappearance, Land Rover trade-in. Phrase tapes? Devastating. Scott crooning love from Paris. Finances? Auditor confirms debts but bills paid on time. Defense? No smoking gun, just a cheating cad, not killer. Garagos shreds. Martha Stewart did air meringues that morning, busting cops debunk. Here, Laci rode the boat alive days prior. Concrete. Samples match driveway pour. Anchors. Sonar missed a dropped device. Bay's a beast. A witness. A woman saw Laci at the warehouse Christmas Eve morning. Statement mysteriously excised from reports. Fetal age. Defense expert Dr. Charles March claims no earlier death than December 29th, implying abduction. Prosecution. Not full term, died with mom. Jurors deliberate amid drama. 1 dismissed for juror chats, foreman bows out over threats. November 12th. Guilty. December 13th. Death. Judge DeLucci. Cruel, heartless. Scott heads to San Quentin's death row March 2005. But the fight rages. Automatic appeal hits California's Supreme Court 2012, 423 pages of gripes. Biased jury pool, evidentiary slips, dog scent flops. 2020. Conviction stands but death overturned 7-0. But judge improperly booted death penalty foes without probing impartiality. Retrial. December 2021. Life without parole at Mule Creek State Prison. Habeas 2015. New claims, juror lied on abuse history, sightings post-disappearance. 2022 denial, good faith errors, no bias. Then 2024 twist, LA Innocence Project jumps in with new evidence. March hearing granted. May, DNA on autopsy duct tape approved, other requests? Denied. October, discovery access to withheld files. But June 2025? Appeals court rejects 140-page habeas. Evidence destroyed or suppressed? Unproven, verdict holds. But the saga presses on. In a fresh twist, on August 4, 2025, the LA Innocence Project filed yet another habeas petition in San Mateo Superior Court, packed with 14 claims of newly uncovered evidence that they say could finally crack the case wide open. As of October 2025, it's still unfolding. Will this be the breakthrough, or another dead end? Laci and Connor rest at Burwood Cemetery, her stone roche only. Her death birthed Laci and Connor's Law, federal unborn victims charge. Sharon's memoir, a bestseller funding searches. Family losses. Stepdad Ron 2018, Dad Dennis same year. So was justice swift, or stolen? Scott's team pushes on. Prosecutors call it overwhelming guilt. The Bay holds its secrets, much like the doubts that keep us hooked. What a case that defies easy answers. Love turned lethal or a rush to judgment. If this left you chilled and curious, drop a like if you're team guilty, comment your wildest theory, and subscribe for more unsolved chills on the True Crime Report cold cases. Hit notifications, you won't want to miss the next deep dive. And hey, craving more American enigmas? Check my playlist on true crimes across the USA. From coast to coast, we've got the stories that haunt. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there. See you next time.